Rachel of Seattle Mental Health, Rachel McCloskey, when I asked her some detail about the American Civil Rights Movement, such as had she heard of Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, the MFDP, she said, of course. What she hadn't heard of was lynching, evidently, because she joined the Sisterhood of Women who gleefully and bigotedly justified torture, castration of a deaf man for no crime at all. They could have asked the sheriff of Allegheny County if there had been allegations made about me. Nope. And they did it anyway. European politics are very particular. The Nobel Peace Prize has been rightfully downgraded in status lately among human rights advocates. In the 80s, it had more prestige, not necessarily rightly. That Václav Havel, in the sense that he was deceiving the masses, did a better job than some of the more recent recipients. Václav Havel faced a particularly European situation, the occupation of Czechoslovakia by the Russians. It resulted in a movement known as samizdat, which is a pretty cool word. The lawfulness of writing your thoughts. I have 3 legal pads on my desk, on which I can write to my mother pleasantries, as I like to do from time to time, or I can take notes of the 3 mirrors in semiotic literature. As everyone knows, fascinates me for its unrivaled gall and impact on my educational potentials because of the way I was used by the people who designed that situation. It's become what the Russians like to call an existential situation for poor old queerball. And in samizdat Czechoslovakia, all these things would have been legal as long as you didn't show it to anybody else. As Mike McGuff of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette put it, once it changes hands, we consider it published. In other words, no crime would have been committed or suspected or acted upon unrighteously if I kept the letter to Leslie to myself, because no crime was committed at all. But once I gave it to her, it was considered published, so they could make anything they wanted of it, which they did. I live in a peculiar situation where Britain and Russia have made it clear that they want a narrative from Yoko Ono to unify people, which was premeditated by the script. It's a script of what we were to be considered our dictated reality. Probably Elon Musk was in on it somewhere along the line. So we get this script, this heart-to-heart conversations from prefabrication robots that has no ethical standard whatsoever in terms of governance that we must obey. It's probably close to closing in on being illegal for me to even discuss with myself what they did. This strange macabre is a sort of creeping samizdat. And we hear about from England moaning and groaning about Sharia creep. The commonplaces of Sharia are civil law issues concerning childbirth out of wedlock and responsibility to orphans, divorce laws, and things like this. It's nothing to get all worked up from the National Rifle Association about. But we don't see the samizdat creep, because Václav Havel turned out to be a real samizdat creep when it came to this macabre that emerged from the University of Pittsburgh and Carnegie Mellon University with the help of Peter Gabriel and Yoko Ono and the Geffen Corporation, Lucas Studios, Fox Media, Mel Gibson. The whole thing was organized by the purported wax dummy Reagan. And he just dragged me kicking and screaming onto the set and said, here's the one we want to make the laughing stock. And they even made a film called Jim Carrey's Truman Show. It's disorderly conduct by the inner sanctum mafia of the diabolical Hollywood situation. Now, I don't want to scapegoat or play into anti-Semitism as an answer to the affair. Clearly, we need something more legally binding that doesn't rest on sympathies of religious affiliation, by which certain people in the Christian faith are so easily granted impunity. Rubio, without mentioning the Geneva Accords, without mentioning Nuremberg, said that we have a trial by jury system that trumps the International Court of Justice. The truth is that the nation state became sufficiently suspicious as such at Nuremberg that most of the people who saw World War II agreed to surrender some jurisdiction to an international court above reproach. What Rubio really misses is Judge Lynch, and he has no problem finding such people among the so-called progressive left of Seattle. They're blood-curdling when it comes to me. They don't seem to apprehend the slightest comprehension of the cruelty that was inflicted with the neuroplasm, the sledgehammer blows to the psyche, the vicious, terrible, torrential violence and pain that knotted and gnarled through my head as I lay shrieking on the sidewalk, my face pressed to the cement, having ocular gyrations and reliving not what Rachel projected, but a terrible, horrible act of being kidnapped on a snowy day when I couldn't go to school because I knew the gang in question would be circling it, looking for me in stolen cars. Well, they found me anyway. And Rachel incited terroristic reprisals towards me for talking about it. It's painful to me to see my peers reduced to such ignoble conduct in the name of Peter Gabriel,